And I also want to encourage you all to check out my blog at pharmacistben.com, which we update regularly with news stories as well as blog posts. Have a couple posts up there. Did a post on avocados, actually. There's a story in the news yesterday, a couple days ago, on avocados and satiety. I've been using avocados for satiety, for satisfaction, fillingness, if you will. If you're dieting, you want to lose weight, you want to stop overeating, avocados and salt make a great satiety, satisfaction-inducing food. And this was I blogged about an article. I did a blog post on an article or a study that came out from University of Loma Linda in California on avocados and satisfaction, satiety. What they didn't tell you in the article there's ways to even increase the satisfying nature, the satisfaction value of avocados, and I wrote about that at pharmacistben.com, so you might want to check that out. Okay. 855-660-4261 is our call-in number, and we do welcome your phone calls. Got empty lines for you if you want to get on board early. We recommend that you do, 855-660-4261. Want to continue our discussion on the super mega important antioxidant glutathione. We've been talking about glutathione and peptides in general for eye health. Last program we talked about glutathione and skin pigmentation, so-called hyperpigmentation. Pigment is pigmentary changes that occur with aging. Pigmentation, dark spots, hyperpigmentation, melasma. This is a big problem, a big cosmetic problem. It's not really a health issue in the sense that the skin is not a vital or essential, skin pigment is not a vital or essential phenomena. However, it can be a sign of breakdown. It can be a sign of accelerated aging. And even though you can buy whitening pills on the internet, and oftentimes they feature glutathione, by the way, and there's all kinds of topical preparations that you can use for hyperpigmentation, you want to consider hyperpigmentation to be an oxidation issue, an issue of accelerated aging or biochemical breakdown. This is true about all skin diseases and all skin issues. I've been doing skincare now since 1983, and if I've learned anything, it's that you don't have a skin problem without having an internal problem. I don't know how many different ways I could say this. You don't have a skin problem unless you got some kind of biochemical breakdown. It is absolutely ridiculous to try to address the skin without addressing the interior, the internal biochemistry of the body, and nothing exemplifies this more than the idea of skin darkening or skin pigmentation or melasma or hyperpigmentation, whatever you want to call it. Skin darkening, hyperpigmentation occurs in blotches on the skin. Dermatologists, skin doctors will call it melasma, and it's a type of oxidation reaction. It's a type of rusting reaction. Melanin, skin pigment, oxidizes just like a rusty nail will oxidize. Just like an apple, if you leave it exposed to oxygen, will oxidize. And there seems to be an epidemic of this, an epidemic of hyperpigmentation or melasma, and there's a zillion different skin lightening products out there in the marketplace. In fact, hyperpigmentation is not an inevitable problem. Even though there's all of these skincare products out there in the marketplace, in my pharmacy I've been formulating skincare anti-hyperpigmentation products for many years, some especially toxic ones, unfortunately, on a prescription basis. But the fact of the matter is that hyperpigmentation, melasma, whatever you want to call it, skin darkening, is not a skin issue. It's a biochemistry issue. It's an oxidation issue. Oxidation is that chemical reaction that occurs between oxygen and different substances in the body, between proteins in the body, hormones in the body, pigments in the body. And you can always tell oxidation. You can always tell that something is oxidizing by a color change. The classic example is the rusty nail. You take a nail, you put it in water, expose it to H2O molecules, and the oxygen in the water will create an effect in the nail, react with the iron in the nail will turn rusty or orange. You leave an apple out in the exposed to oxygen, and the oxygen will make the apple turn brown. Melanin turns darker. Anytime you see a color change, if you take a log and you stick it in a fire, the fire is an example of oxidation. What happens to the log? It turns brown, it turns black, it darkens. Oxidation can always be detected by a color change, usually a darkening, whether it's the oxidation of iron that can be observed as a rusty color, the oxidation of fruits and vegetables that can show up as a browning. Oxidation of oils can also show up as a browning or a blackening effect. If you leave an oil exposed to oxygen for too long, it'll turn brown and eventually it'll turn black. And by the way, this oxidation of oils is a very, very significant reaction when it comes to nutritional supplements. Oxidation of oils is called rancidity, and it is most likely to occur with active oils, which are for the most part liquid, and when they're unprocessed, when oils, vegetable oils especially, grain oils especially, are unprocessed, they contain large concentrations of essential fatty acids, essential fats. In fact, if you have a liquid oil that is slow to oxidize, that is slow to become rancid or to get rancid, that doesn't oxidize, the odds are pretty good, unless it's got something added to it, maybe some vitamin E added to it, which we'll talk about here in a minute. The chances are pretty good if your oil's not turning brown or black or oxidizing and sitting there in a clear bottle at the supermarket, the odds are pretty darn good there's nothing in it. There's no activity in it anyway. It's a carcass. It's a dead body. There's no juice. There's no nutritional value to it because nutritional value is linked with instability. Nutritional value and instability go hand in hand because nutritional value means energy, and energy is unstable. That's why oil manufacturers will yank out all the nutritional value out of their oils before they sell it to us. And if you're wondering what they do with all those nutrients they take out of the oil, well, you'll be pleased to know they put it in gel caps and sell it to us as nutritional supplements. How do you like that? They take the stuff, the good stuff out of the oils, the nutrients out of the oils, and then they stick them in a gel cap and sell them to us as a supplement. I'm telling you, craziness, right? Anyway. So vitamin E will help protect oils. There's something called BHT that will protect oils. BHA will protect oils. You may have seen these on breads. Bread manufacturers love using BHT and BHA because they protect the oils that are found in the grains. BHT and BHA are industrial strength antioxidants. Sometimes you'll see BHT in particular in skincare products where it protects oils. BHA is mostly used in foods. There is some controversy around BHT and BHA, especially around BHA. They may or may not be toxic. They may or may not be carcinogenic. Nobody really knows. The FDA says that they're fine, but according to the National Institute of Health, they're not. At least BHA isn't. So you got to make your own decision on that. Personally, I use vitamin E as an antioxidant, and I don't even mess around with BHT or BHA. Anyway, supermarket oils that come in clear bottles usually have the EFAs processed out. This is why they have such a long shelf life. And people who subsist on these kinds of foods that have long shelf life will have a short shelf life. So eat foods that are active, especially oils. All right, more to say when we come back from our break. We'll talk about vitamin E and skin lightening. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. Okay, skin lightening, hyperpigmentation. We're talking about oils and vitamin E. We've been talking about vitamin E now for a couple of days. Vitamin E is a protective vitamin. It protects fats. It protects oils. If you're eating an oil, if you're eating your essential or supplementing with your essential fatty acids, it's a good idea to make sure that you're using vitamin E with your essential fatty acids. Vitamin E has a protective effect. It protects all fats, protects oils from rancidity. I use vitamin E in my cosmetic formulations whenever I'm working with an unstable oil. I don't like working with unstable oils. I don't like working with oils anyway for the skin, with the exception of jojoba oil, which is technically not even an oil. So that's another story. If you're using oils on your skin or eating a lot of oils or taking essential fatty acid supplements, you want to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin E, around 400 international units of vitamin E a day. Just yesterday, a study came out on vitamin E, a couple of days ago, on vitamin E and Alzheimer's disease. Vitamin E has a reputation for being able to protect fats in the brain. Vitamin E is associated with a lower risk of liver cancer. Vitamin E is amazing stuff, and we've been talking about the deluxe form of vitamin E for quite a while now. Tocotrienols. We've been talking about that for a couple of years, actually, but just in the last couple of days, we've been talking about tocotrienols, and you're just starting to now hear about tocotrienols via the mainstream media. There was an article in CNN last year referring to tocotrienols, deluxe vitamin E, for their benefits for stroke production, for stroke prevention. They've been written about in Time magazine and the industry trade journal Natural News Insider. There was a cover story last September on tocotrienols. They call tocotrienols the next big E. Vitamin E was first discovered in the 1920s, and it is big, big, big business because it comes right out of the oils for the most part. Most vitamin E comes out of the oils that are sold to us as oils. As I was saying before the break, they'll take the vitamin E out of the oils, and then they'll stick them in a gel cap and sell them to us. Doesn't sound very nice, but that's just how it is. Vitamin E sales total around $300 million a year in this country alone, probably close to $1 billion a year around the world. Vitamin E is known as the fertility vitamin. The classic form of vitamin E, the main form of vitamin E, the non-tocotrienol form of vitamin E is called tocopherols. And probably most of you who are listening to this program have heard of tocopherols. Tocopherols are the pretty much the basic form of vitamin E. Tocotrienols are the deluxe form of vitamin E. Those are the two main types of vitamin E: tocopherols and tocotrienols. Tocopherol is Latin for, or maybe Greek for, to carry a baby. Tocopherol means to carry a baby. That's because vitamin E is known as the fertility vitamin. Deficiencies in vitamin E are associated with infertility. Deficiencies in vitamin E are associated with spontaneous abortions. This makes sense when you consider that vitamin E has a protective effect. It protects cells. It protects life. It has a protective effect for the brain. It has a protective effect for the nerves and for the muscles. It should come as no surprise because nerves and muscles and brain and all cells really are rich in fats. Macular degeneration, muscular dystrophies. These are all common signs of vitamin E deficiency. Remember now, this is a vitamin that isn't found in a lot of foods. This is a vitamin that you're going to be hard-pressed to get enough of if you're not supplementing. I don't know what we need to hear that could make supplementation a more valuable thing to do. Just vitamin E alone, folks, you ain't going to get what you need from foods. No way, no how. So if you're out there saying, oh, I don't like to supplement, I'm just going to get what I need from foods, or if your doctor said don't supplement, your multivitamin's a waste of money, tell them about vitamin E. You should know about vitamin E, that the richest sources of vitamin E, things like wheat germ oil and sunflower seeds and sunflower oil, get you around 30 or 40 international units a day per 100 grams. That's 4 ounces almost. You'd have to eat 4 friggin' ounces of wheat germ oil to get enough vitamin E to match what's the vitamin E that's been shown to work for the heart and for the brain and to protect against cancer. Around 400 international units a day. You're not going to find vitamin E in foods. And because vitamin E is fat soluble, it requires a healthy liver and a healthy intestine and a healthy gallbladder, an adequate production of stomach acid, an adequate secretion of stomach acid, and pancreatic juices for that matter, for its absorption. That means if you're trying to get your vitamin E from foods, good luck. It ain't going to happen. If you're trying to get your vitamin E and you got a messed up liver or a messed up gallbladder, you had your gallbladder taken out, or messed up intestines, you got Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, it ain't going to happen. If you got stomach problems, achlorhydria, that means you're not making enough stomach acid. You got pancreatic problems, you got type 2 or type 1 diabetes, you're going to have difficulties absorbing vitamin E. And given its scarcity in foods, given all the digestive actions that are required for processing this stuff, you got to wonder how much of what we consider muscular diseases, muscular dystrophies, how much of that are really just signs of vitamin E deficiencies. Given the fact that the stuff's not in food and it's so hard to digest, given the fact that most of us aren't supplementing, you got to wonder how much of our degenerative diseases are really the signs of nothing more than a vitamin E deficiency. Now, I don't want to get too much into talking about tocotrienols and tocopherols here today, because our real talk is on eye health. But there's a couple things I want to say about these tocotrienols when it comes to skin lightening. Tocotrienols, the more expensive form of vitamin E, in addition to being better antioxidants than tocopherols, they're better at protecting the skin and the body from oxidizing. They may be better at lightening the skin too. Tocopherols will work for skin lightening, but tocotrienols may be better. That's because there's an enzyme that's involved in the pigmentation process. There's an enzyme that makes our skin get darker. And tocotrienols, the deluxe form of vitamin E, in addition to being able to suppress oxidation, in addition to being an antioxidant, tocotrienols can suppress the activity of this enzyme that causes skin to darken. The enzyme is called tyrosinase, and it involves the amino acid tyrosine. All right, hang tight. We'll come back. I'll finish this up when we come back from our break, and then we'll get your phone calls. 855-660-4261 is our number. Hang on the line if you're there. We'll get to you. We'll get to you when we come back, and we do have a couple lines open for you at 855-660-4261. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. Okay, just a couple more things I want to talk about here with, I think I'm going to finish this up tomorrow. got a couple of other things I want to talk about. I want to tell you about estrogen and pigmentation, progesterone cream and pigmentation. I got a few more things to say about hyperpigmentation, and then we'll continue talking about eye health. You know, pigmentation of the skin, excessive pigmentation of the skin is kind of similar to damage to the eye. The eye is a type of skin, if you will. It's the same type of tissue. So if you're hyperpigmenting, the chances are you have increased odds and increased likelihood of having eye health issues as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So we'll continue this discussion tomorrow as we talk about eye health, skin health, peptide health, or peptides and glutamine and glutathione, vitamin E. There's so much to talk about here on the bright side. Time to hit our phones, 855-660-4261. Let's go to John in Michigan. Welcome to the bright side, John. What's up, buddy?
Ben, do you have a book that has all of this information you're talking about?
Yeah, the book is in my head.
Oh.
And I'm writing a book, but man, it's a lot harder to write than it is to talk, as I'm discovering. I wish I could, I get this question a lot. I get a question like that, John, a lot, and I also get a question, what books can I read? And I'll tell you, there are no books you can read. You can read, there's no one book you could read, I should say. There's lots of books you could read, and this is the way you want to accumulate this kind of information. What you're hearing on this program is the accumulation of 30-plus years of my research, my personal experience, as well as my work with clients, with patients. The combination of research, intuition, working with patients over the course of 30 years is what you're hearing on the bright side. So it doesn't come out of a book. There's no one book that you can get, but there's lots of different books that you can get. And most of the books that I read, where I get this information from, are textbooks. And a lot of them are old textbooks. I got one in my hand here called Vitamins and Hormones that was published in 1948. And they say, well, what, 1948? That's old stuff. Well, it turns out that we knew a lot about vitamins and hormones and biochemistry in the 1940s and in the 1930s. In fact, these were pre-pharmacy days when it was really important to understand vitamins and hormones. It wasn't totally pre-pharmacy, but it was before the golden age of pharmacy kicked in. And so vitamins and hormones and the digestive system and biochemistry, these are all subjects that we've known about for many years. Consequently, there's lots of great older textbooks and lots of great older literature that you can get to if you want to put together your own kind of picture of how the body works. If you don't want to do that, you can wait for my book, which hopefully will be out sometime soon. But before that, you can always listen to The Bright Side, and I've got tons of YouTubes and tons of videos where all of this stuff is accumulated. And anybody who wants to transcribe any of that stuff and send it out to me, we can make a book out of it. I'm all ears if you want to do that. So long story short, John, no, negative on books.
Okay, well, that was just one that came up while I was waiting, but you're sort of like the Elton Brown from the Food Channel type of
Love that guy.
Nutrition, yeah. Well,
I love that guy.
You remind me of him, and because you have all of the background on it. But I've been listening to one doctor that talked about the products that, or the supplements that end with the NATE on the end of them as not being good for you, and also potassium iodide. I heard on Alex's show yesterday, one of the gentlemen there was talking about nascent iodine, which I do have, but he said taking potassium iodide, would it depend on the source? He said it's not good to take every day.
Well, let's talk about potassium iodide real quick. I'm not sure what you're saying about NATE. N as in Nancy or M as in Mary?
Well, no, borogluconate, calcium borogluconate. Dr. Truott created a product that he says any of the products that end with the NATE at the end of them are not really good.
I don't know what he's talking about. NATE is a common chemical suffix. And I'm not really sure what he's talking about. I wouldn't make that sounds kind of like a generalization, and I don't mean to, rip you on this, but it sounds like you may have misunderstood, or maybe he's misunderstanding something. NATE is just a common suffix, and it doesn't really have there's no real reason why you wouldn't want a NATE unless it's for a specific kind of ingredient that he's talking about. So we'll bypass that for now. Your second question, or your last question, was on potassium iodide, and that's a little different. Potassium iodide is protective iodine. It's not necessarily nutritional. It's a little bit nutritional. Let me take that back. You can use it as a source of nutrition, but the way people are selling it and pushing it and promoting it is as protection from radioactive iodine. And it is a way to protect yourself from radioactive iodine, and there's nothing wrong with taking it on a regular basis. But if you're thinking about using potassium iodine to protect yourself from radiation, while it may be helpful, you probably want to throw in all the other anti-radiation supplements as well. Potassium iodide will protect you against radioactive iodine, but it won't necessarily protect you against other radioactive elements, radioactive cesium, for example, or whatever other radioactive strontium, or whatever other kind of radioactive elements are being spewed out into our environment in a classic example of the utter stupidity of the human race, including myself, by the way. I don't know what the heck we're thinking here, but in any case, radioactive iodine, or potassium iodide will protect you from radioactive iodine. But if you want to protect yourself against all radiation, and I suggest that you do, there's many, many supplements that you can use. We've talked about these at length. Vitamin C and vitamin E and alpha lipoic acid, all are protective against radiation. Kelp and seaweed and zeolite and bentonite clay, again, all protective against radioactivity and radiation. Making sure you're getting good minerals. All the good minerals will help protect your body from absorbing in the toxic minerals. Get on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. The plant-derived minerals, anything with plant-derived minerals is going to be protective against heavy metals or radiation. So there's lots of ways to do that. Potassium iodide will protect you. It is a good way to protect yourself from radioactive iodine, which is important. But if you want overall anti-radiation protection, then I would highly recommend that you get on an overall nutritional supplement program featuring all the things we just talked about, including, I forgot to mention, MSM sulfur or NAC, N-acetylcysteine, or glutathione building. There's just so many different things to do. Even drinking more water can help. Even drinking more water can be a way to protect yourself. There's wonderful ways to protect yourself from radioactivity. Potassium iodine is good for iodine, but there's all these other things that you're going to want to do, especially if you're out in Oregon or in California. Does that help?
Yes, Ben. One more quick thing. You're very familiar with the element chart, correct?
I love it. I'm pretty familiar with it.
Okay, there was a book written by Charles Walters, who founded Acres USA. Are you familiar with Charles Walters?
No, I'm not. Tell me about it.
Have you ever heard of Acres USA?
Vaguely familiar. Is it a cancer
thing? It's an agricultural publication out of Austin, and it's very good. It really breaks down every good thing that farming should be, but he wrote a book called Minerals for the Genetic Code.
Oh, I have. Yes, I have that book, Minerals for the Genetic Code. It's a great book, actually. Okay. I didn't realize he was a farming guy, though. He's from Austin?
He was the publisher. He's passed away now, but he wrote that about Dr. Orry, this general doctor who is up here in northern Michigan. And Dr. Orry has a website called emineral.info. He would be a great guest on your show.
Thank you.
A great person to have contact with, I would think.
I appreciate that. Would you send me an email with your phone number there, John?
Sure. How do I
send it to Ben at ksco.com. Put on there John from the Bright Side, so I get tons of emails. No, K King, S Sam, C Cat, O Oscar, ksco.com. All right, got to move on. Thanks so much, John. Thanks for the tip. I appreciate that. All right, we'll get some more of your phone calls when we come back from our break. Hang tight. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back after this.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
All right, we're back on the bright side. Ryan in Texas, welcome aboard. What's going on, my man?
Hi there. I've got a couple of questions for you, but the first one I think is pretty quick. In regards to vitamin C, I enjoy drinking water with ascorbic acid. I like the sour. My wife doesn't. I put sodium ascorbate, sometimes calcium ascorbate, and I make supplements out of those three. But I'm wondering if one is better for something else than the other, right?
Where do you get your ascorbate salts?
Like the Now Foods bulk, in a bulk kind of.
Why don't you buy there? You could get something called Ester C, which is made with a whole bunch of. That's kind of expensive, actually. You may want to just do it the way you're doing it. Nothing wrong with that. Sodium ascorbate just gives you sodium. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Actually, that's great. What do you use? Calcium, sodium. What other ones?
Calcium, sodium, and then ascorbic acid. And I usually mix them up into pills, but I like the water as well.
Sounds like you know what you're doing, Ryan. Have at it, bro.
Well,
no big deal. Let me just say one last thing, though, because this is there's kind of some controversy around the ascorbic acid and some of its salts. Occasionally, I'll hear people, chiropractors and healthcare professionals, mostly alternative professionals, saying that you don't want to use ascorbic acid because it's not the way the body prefers it, and there are people selling products that are what they call ester Cs, like you're describing, mineral ascorbates, or sometimes whole food ascorbic acid. And those are all well and good. But the fact of the matter is the body uses ascorbic acid. So if you're taking this calcium ascorbate, the body will take the calcium off and use the ascorbic acid. It'll use the calcium as well, but it'll use the ascorbate part as ascorbic acid. So ascorbic acid is the way cells utilize vitamin C. And while these whole food products are wonderful, I love them. They're just expensive, and it's hard to get the kind of concentrations of nutrients that you need. And these salts that you're talking about, these mineral ascorbates, are great too. You're just not going to get the high concentrations of ascorbic acid that you want to get. And the body uses, and cells use, and the intestine absorbs ascorbic acid, not the whole foods. The body has to break the whole food up and release the ascorbic acid before it can be used. The body has to break up the calcium ascorbate or sodium ascorbate or whatever it is, potassium ascorbate, release the ascorbic acid, and the body uses vitamin C as ascorbic acid. Even though whole foods have other things in them that are whole food supplements have other things in them that maybe help improve digestion of the ascorbic acid, at the absorption level and at the cell level, it is indeed ascorbic acid that is being used. I just had to throw that out there. Did you have another question, Ryan?
Yes, great information. So let me make my second question short as well. My wife's on, I've pretty much put her on like a maybe 75% ketogenic diet. In 6 months she's lost 50 pounds with
nice
exercise, actually. And I've got her on quite the regimen, both, morning, noon, and night. I'm wondering if you can give me maybe some of the must-haves.
Must-haves for the ketogenic diet?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just tell the listeners about the ketogenic diet. This is a diet that was, it's been around historically since the days of Hippocrates. It's been used to treat seizure disorders, which are a kind of electrical glitch in the brain. The theory being by reducing the amount of energy, high energy foods that you intake, I should say fast-burning energy foods that you intake, the more you'll stabilize electrical energy in the brain. And that means basically laying off the carbs, eating more protein, and eating more fat. This is what we talk about on the bright side all the time. I call it the bright side diet. The ketogenic diet is like the bright side diet. And the paleo diet is kind of sort of like the ketogenic diet. I don't even like the word paleo because it's just so trite these days and cliche. But what I like to talk about is a modified paleo, modified ketogenic diet, the bright side diet. So to answer your question, what do you need? More protein. That's the number one focus of the modified ketogenic diet and the modified paleo diet and the bright side diet. More protein and not steak. So when you get these know-nothing nutrition-minded people who know nothing about nutrition, and they tell you about, oh, you don't want to eat animal proteins because steak is awful for you. They don't know what they're talking about, because when I say protein, I don't mean steak. You never hear me say steak. You never hear me say sausages or hot dogs or hamburgers. And this is a way that the militant vegans and militant vegetarians marginalize or dismiss the importance of a high protein or higher protein diet. Nobody said steak and hamburger. When I talk about protein, I'm talking eggs, I'm talking whey, I'm talking fish, and I'm talking really all foods that contain a protein in them, including broccoli and cauliflower, which contain protein. Small amounts of grains if they're sprouted, or small amounts of beans if they're sprouted as well. So the ketogenic diet, modified paleo, bright side diet, number one is more protein, especially whey and egg protein. Number two, it's less calories. Less calories. Less calories. Get your nutrients, but don't eat as much. Focus on eating behaviors. That means if you're not hungry, don't eat. Well, that sounds obvious, right? But it's not, because we eat when we're not hungry all the time. Basically, if you don't have some kind of weird feeling in your stomach, the kind of feeling where you haven't eaten for 3 or 4 days, you're not hungry. If you're looking at the menu and you're like, oh, I don't know what I want. Maybe I want the pasta. Maybe I want the fish. I don't know. You're not hungry. Think of all the times we eat when we're not hungry. So that's the second thing to do for the modified ketogenic diet, modified paleo, bright side diet. More protein, less calories. Thirdly, more fat, especially saturated fat, coconut fat. How do you like that? Saturated fat. Tell that to your dermatologist, your cardiologist. More coconut oil, more butter. Get yourself some broccoli. You want a great ketogenic diet food, or a modified keto food, or modified paleo food, or bright side food. Get yourself a big hunk of broccoli with maybe 7 or 8 big sprout, whatever you call those little floret things on them, and drop it in a steamer. Steam it for 7 or 8 minutes, all right, to kind of break green and a little bit firm, but a bit soft. The sugars will get released. Dump a bunch of butter, and I mean a bunch of it, and then throw a bunch of Celtic sea salt on there. That will be the most delicious dinner you ever had. And if you throw in 3 eggs on there, you'll get your protein, and you won't want to eat for the rest of the day or till the next morning, and you'll have all of maybe 200 or 300 calories in there, and it will taste ridiculously good. You could even throw a little bit of cheese on top of that. All right, so that's second thing, or third thing is more fat. Fourth thing is more salt. Fifth, for the bright side diet, the paleogenic, modified paleo or modified keto diet, in addition to all the things we just talked about, is reduce refined carbohydrates to next to zero. I didn't say carbohydrates. I said refined carbohydrates. You still need your veggie carbohydrates. Stay away from anything refined, and I would minimize my ingestion of fruits and especially fruit juices as well. Does that help you, Ryan?
Sure. It does a lot. Let me tell you, her coffee in the morning is 4 tablespoons of grass-fed butter, a couple tablespoons of MCT oil, some collagen, and it's delicious.
Ryan, you know what you're doing, my man, and you got a lucky wife there. Are you in Austin by any chance, or Wichita Falls?
Yeah.
Why don't you come? Can you come by and see me at Brave New Books? I'd love to say hi.
Oh, when you?
I'll be there January 23rd.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I'd love it if you could say hi. I'd love to meet you in person.
Fantastic.
All right, buddy. Good luck. Good luck. God bless. Have a beautiful day. Ryan knows what he's talking about there. That's awesome. All right, Rick in North Carolina, I got a couple of minutes. What's up, my friend?
Yeah, hey. I've got a friend who's had this back, the pain in the back of his leg, sort of between his knee and the top of his leg, on the back of his leg. And he's had
hamstring? You're talking hamstring?
It could be. He doesn't really tell me exactly what it is, but it's been very painful every day for, I don't know, 8 months.
All right, a couple of things. First of all, if there's something mechanical, something torn in there, you're going to have somebody look at that. He may need to have it immobilized. I can't speak to the issue if it's a mechanical or issue or a traumatic kind of issue. If it's chemical, which it could very well be, it usually involves electrolytes and water-soluble vitamins, and then perhaps your fatty vitamins as well and fatty nutrients. So a couple things you want to do. If there's any digestive problems, those need to be corrected because that'll cause malabsorption, and it doesn't matter what he intakes if he's not absorbing. So he needs to correct digestive issues, link up bowel movement problems, gas, bloating, heartburn, all that kind of stuff to specific foods, then eliminate those foods. And then get on the Biolumin Nightly Essence. He should be sipping on the BTT all day long. That's a great way to make sure you're getting your water-soluble vitamins and your electrolytes. And then, as we've been talking about for the last few days, making sure you're controlling and stabilizing any damage to fats is very important for all muscle issues. The hamstrings, that area that you're talking about above the knee and under the butt, is a very large muscle, one of the largest muscles in the body. So if you have any kind of muscle breakdown or muscle biochemical issues that are affecting the muscles or affecting nerve-muscle interactions, neural conduction or the muscle relationship to the nerves, you're going to want to work on that, and that means vitamin E, 400 international units a day, more sun, and maybe some vitamin D3 supplementally. Probably a vitamin K wouldn't hurt, 5,000 micrograms or so of vitamin K2. And then vitamin A is always important for all building issues, 20,000 international units a day. So you got a whole bunch of things you could do there for your friend. Number one, most important, look for digestive issues, eliminate problem foods, use the Biolumin Nightly Essence and any kind of digestive support. Number two, water-soluble nutrients, the B complex especially, and electrolytes, which you'll find in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Number three, fatty vitamins, especially vitamin E, and then also A, D, and K. And if he wants to throw in something else, he may want to try some digestive enzymes taken on an empty stomach, the ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. Sometimes that can work for inflammation, and he may have some inflammation going on in the hamstrings. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your calls and your letters. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about skin lightening and eye health and glutathione and deluxe vitamin E tocotrienols. Check out my blog, pharmacistben.com, and join the Brightside Ben team. 866-735-2470 is the Brightside Ben phone team number. Tell them you want to join the team. All right, that's all the time we have for today. We'll talk to y'all later, folks. Bye for now.